Everyone talks about Jahad like he's the final boss, the god king who sits at the top of the tower, the man who made the rules, the tyrant who decided thousands of years ago who gets to reach the top and who gets left behind forever. And sure, he's terrible. I'm not going to defend him, but here's the problem with making Jahad the villain. It lets the tower off the hook, because the real horror of Tower of God is not one man with too much power. It's a system so elegant, so perfectly constructed, that it doesn't need a villain at all. It runs on ambition. It runs on hope. It runs on people choosing, freely, voluntarily, to climb. And today, we're going to take that system apart. My name is your name. This is Manhwa Dissected. And if you've been reading Tower of God thinking Jahad is the problem, you've been looking at the wrong thing. The architecture of false hope. Let's start with the premise, because SIU, the author, is incredibly precise about it. The tower is not a random place. It's not a dungeon or a puzzle or a test. The tower is a promise. It tells you from the very beginning, climb high enough and you can have anything. Wealth, power, fame, the chance to leave your mark on history, even supposedly the ability to change the world. That's not a tower, that's a society. And like every society, it doesn't maintain control through constant violence. That would be too expensive, too obvious. Instead, it maintains control through structure, through rules that feel fair, through a process that appears meritocratic. You take the tests, you pass or you fail on your own merit. No one forces you to climb. This is the first lie. In sociological terms, what SIU has built is what theorist Antonio Gramsci called hegemony, the way dominant systems maintain power not through force alone, but through manufacturing consent, making people believe the system is natural, inevitable, the only option. The tower doesn't oppress you with a boot on your neck. It oppresses you by convincing you that the boot is a ladder. Look at who climbs. The regulars, the people invited to test. They come from every background imaginable, different races, abilities, motives. They all have one thing in common. Someone or something told them the tower could give them what they want. Rachel wants to see the stars. Bam just wants to follow Rachel. Kuhn wants to restore his family's honor. And Dorsey wants to become a princess. Every single one of them is climbing towards something the tower dangled in front of them. The tower didn't need to kidnap them. It just needed to be exactly what they needed it to be. How the tests were never designed to be fair. Here's where it gets uncomfortable, because this is where Tower of God starts hitting very close to home for its Korean readership. The testing system in the tower, the numbered floors, the elimination rounds, the role assignments, it's structured almost identically to the Korean college entrance system. The Sunyoung, one exam, one chance. Your entire future decided in a single sitting. In Korea, educational achievement isn't just about knowledge. It's about class reproduction. Wealthy families can afford private tutors, prep academies, the right schools. Children from poor backgrounds take the same exam, but with a fraction of the resources. The test appears equal. The conditions behind it are not. The tower does the exact same thing. Look at who actually reaches the higher floors. Irregulars aside, the people born into powerful families, trained from birth, connected to the right clans, already have advantages that first-generation climbers can't replicate. Kun Aguero Agnes is brilliant, yes, but he's also born into one of the most powerful families in the tower. He knows how this works. Bam has nothing, no training, no connections, no knowledge of the rules. And yet we're supposed to call this meritocracy. SIU is specific about this. The tests aren't just hard. They're designed with social assumptions baked in. The Shinsu control tests assume a certain kind of body. The combat rounds assume a certain kind of preparation. The role-based assignments favor people who already know how to navigate institutions. The tower doesn't lift people up. It selects for people who were already positioned to succeed, and then credits the tower for their success. And here's the most insidious part. The people who succeed genuinely believe they earned it. The ranking system doesn't just sort people, it shapes how they see themselves. High rankers develop a sense of natural superiority. Low rankers internalize failure as personal inadequacy. The system never has to say, "You're less than." The numbers say it for them. This is what sociologist Pierre Bourdieu called symbolic violence, the way systems make their arbitrary hierarchies feel inevitable and deserved. The tower is a masterclass in symbolic violence. Why the king needs to exist. Okay, so where does Jahad fit into all of this? Because I said he's not the real villain, but that doesn't mean he's innocent. Let me be precise. Jahad's function in the tower is not to run it, it's to personify it. Systems are abstract. You can't hate a system, you can't fight a concept. What you can do is point at a person, one man sitting at the top, and say, if we could just defeat him, everything would change. Jahad is the tower's pressure valve. By existing as a visible, named tyrant, he redirects all the legitimate rage that the tower structure generates and turns it into a target. Bam's anger is about Jahad. Rachel's betrayal gets filtered through Jahad's influence. The rebellion narrative becomes about overthrowing a king, not about dismantling a system. Think about what happens in most revolutionary narratives, in real history and in fiction. The revolution succeeds, the king is dead, and then, very often, the new regime starts to look a lot like the old one, because they didn't change the structure, they just changed who was sitting at the top. Tower of God is deeply aware of this trap. There are characters who have tried to resist the tower before Bam. Some of them are still there, fighting. None of them have actually changed anything, because they're all still playing by the tower's rules, climbing toward the top, competing within the ranking system, accepting the premise that reaching the summit is the goal. Jahad didn't create the tower's values. He internalized them so completely that he became the tower's avatar. He climbed it, he reached the top, and rather than change it, he became its most devoted servant. He's not the source of corruption. He's its most successful product. The character everyone hates. And why? She's the most important one. I want to talk about Rachel. I know. Rachel is one of the most hated characters in Tower of God, and most of that hatred is completely understandable. What she does to Bam is genuinely awful. Her behavior is cold, selfish, and at times incomprehensible. But Rachel is also the most honest character in the entire series, because Rachel, from the very beginning, has never lied about what she wants. She wants to see the stars. She wants to be special. She wants the tower to tell her that she matters. And the tower, through Hedon, through the test, through the entire narrative, tells her, you're not chosen. You're ordinary. You don't deserve to be here. This is the tower's most devastating operation. It doesn't just sort people, it adjudicates worth. And Rachel, unlike Bam, cannot access the exceptional talent that would make the tower embrace her. So she does what the tower trained her to do. She competes. She fights. She uses every resource she has, including Bam. Because the tower taught her that survival requires using whatever advantage you have. She's not breaking the tower's rules. She's following them perfectly. The fandom's hatred for Rachel is, in a way, the tower working as designed. We watch someone with exceptional power, Bam, and we believe in the meritocracy of that power. When Rachel attacks Bam, we feel it as injustice, but we felt Bam's gifts as justice. We accepted the premise. Rachel is what the tower looks like when you're not the chosen one. And the Tower of God is full of Rachels. We just don't follow their stories. The protagonist who might not climb. So what does all of this mean for Bam? On the surface, Bam is a standard chosen one protagonist. He's an irregular, someone who entered the tower not because it invited him, but because he chose to enter. He has exceptional talent. He grows rapidly. He forms bonds. He's going to reach the top. But SIU keeps complicating this. The further Bam climbs, the more he learns about the tower's structure, and the more he resists the conclusions that structure wants him to reach. He doesn't want power for its own sake. He doesn't want to rule. He keeps asking questions that the tower's logic cannot answer. Why are regulars disposable? Why do the rules make sense to everyone except the people being destroyed by them? Who decided this was how things had to be? Let this breathe. The answer is, no one decided. It just became. The most radical thing Bam could do, the thing that would actually threaten the tower, is not to defeat Jahad. It's to refuse the premise, to stop climbing toward what the tower offers, to stop accepting the tower's definition of what reaching the top means. SIU hasn't finished the story. We don't know if Bam will get there, but the groundwork is being laid for a protagonist whose victory might look nothing like what the tower promised. The tower is a mirror. Tower of God has been running since 2010. It's one of the longest and most complex manhwa ever written. And the thing that keeps me coming back, the thing that I think keeps millions of readers coming back, is that it's not really about a tower. It's about the systems we build to organize human ambition, the way those systems promise fairness and deliver hierarchy, the way they create mythologies around success to make failure feel personal. It's about what happens when you design a world around competition and then act surprised when people compete. Jahad is not the villain. The villain is the belief that whoever reaches the top deserves to be there. And the Tower of God spent 16 years building a story around one kid who might be the first person to actually disagree. If this hit you somewhere, drop a comment. Tell me which character you think has been most destroyed by the tower's logic, because there are a lot of candidates. Subscribe if you want more analysis like this. I'm building a library, and I'll see you in the next one.